Am I the a-hole for leaving my wedding with my wife? Title is confusing, so I will try to explain it as better as I can. I'm male 29, have been with my girlfriend, female 29, for about 6 years. We love each other very much and have a fulfilling relationship. We are, however, a very introverted couple, so when we discussed marriage, we were both on the idea that we didn't want a traditional wedding or a wedding at all. We want to go to a courthouse by ourselves, no friends or family, sign the paper and then go to our honeymoon. In our country, this is very weird since weddings are expected to be massive, over the top, and every member of the family must be invited disregarding your level of closeness with them. We got engaged in relative secret since we were already living together and shared the information with our closest family. When they asked for our plans and we told them, they didn't take it very well and a lot of fights began with both families. But especially with my mother and mother-in-law, who would not tolerate a marriage that did involve the Catholic Church. After a few months of fighting, and since there's a pandemic going on, we went ahead with our plans and got married by ourselves and went on a month-long stay in a secluded cabin. When we returned, suddenly all bad blood with our parents and extended family was magically gone, and both my mother and mother-in-law were again very friendly as if nothing ever happened. After about 3 days since we came back, my mother-in-law invited us to the wedding of one of her friends as proof that all was forgotten. She said she would pick us up so that we wouldn't get lost, which was weird, but we didn't suspect anything. The day of the wedding, we arrived at the location and see that everything is still being put up, so we figured we were a bit early and should help. But then I saw my family and some of my in-laws. Turns out, it was our wedding, and they had planned it to be a surprise. They already had a dress, church, food, DJ, everything. Of course, we were shocked, as we were very vocal that this is not something we wanted. Then they told us that since we were driven there, we wouldn't be able to leave and should just be grateful. Here, the story becomes too long to fit the 3,000 limit, so to summarize, we called a friend to pick us up and we left. Of course, both families are super angry at us and constantly call us to tell us how ungrateful and disrespectful we are. At first, I thought we were right to leave, as we gave our reasons for not wanting a wedding, and especially a religious ceremony. But we've been told they invited over 200 people, and felt very humiliated when everyone arrived and we weren't there. So now we are doubting and there's nothing like asking strangers for judgment. So Reddit, am I, we, the a-holes? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. They basically kidnapped you to perform for them. You have every right to leave. That's exactly what we felt. She drove us there, so we would have to stay. Basically, we were taken as hostages. This story is so insane that I'm questioning that it's real or not. How can people be so self-absorbed they show no regards for others like this? They treated you like puppets. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. They had no right to do that. I told them you didn't want this, and were hoping to embarrass / guilt / shame / trap you into doing it anyway. They're upset that you put them in an uncomfortable position. But that's exactly what they'd planned for you. I'm glad you guys stood up to them as a team. Thank you. Ever since we announced our plans, the guilt trips and manipulation has been over the top. They threw you a surprise wedding? Not the a-hole. If any part of this is true, they are crazy as hell and you should cut contact. Although uncommon in my country and region, this type of surprised wedding is not unheard of. But it mostly happens when people get pregnant or if both families are super conservative and find out that intercourse has been happening. Since this wasn't our case, we didn't suspect anything, but I can see why it would be hard to believe. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting a child-free wedding on my niece's birthday? So me, 28 female, and future hubby are doing the damn thing, hopefully, this year in August. We have been engaged since 2019 and together since 2012, so this has been a long time coming. For some background, I have 10 siblings, I am the youngest, and combined, they have 30 children, 20 of which are aged between 4 to 17 years. For our big day, me and my fiancé chose a date, but not the year, luckily, when we got engaged. And it has been meaningful for us. It is actually my mother's birthday. So our first call was to my mom to ask her permission if she would be okay with us having our wedding on her birthday at some point. To our delight, she was super happy with the idea, so that's that. In addition, one of my sister's child, 8 years old, has her birthday on the same day. So our next call was actually to her to tell her that we would like to choose that date. And the wedding will most likely be child-free because we could never afford to invite everyone. Back then, she was like, yeah, do whatever, you didn't even have to call to ask. So now coming back today, the invitations have been sent and she got hers today. And I get a call from her. Sis, so I wanted to make sure that the sentence, please leave your children home, does not extend to your relatives, right? Me, this extends to all of our invited guests, family, and friends alike. Sis, but I am your sister. Why should we leave them home? Besides, I have promised XY all this time that we will be going to have a great dance party at your wedding for her birthday. Me, I am sorry, but I told you that beforehand when I asked about the date as well. We cannot afford to invite so many guests. Think how many children there would be. Sis, no, but you should make an exception because it is her birthday. And I promised we will go. I know some of my other siblings are mad about the child-free thing as well, and we are getting a lot of heat for it. My fiancé has a very small family, so I feel bad constantly that mine is so huge. We just want a cool party with just close relatives and friends, and not to mention COVID has set quite the limit. So am I the a-hole because I knew my chosen wedding date was a someone's child birthday, and I knew that I wanted to have a child-free wedding, and now I do not want to make an exception? Not the a-hole. You called to ask and got permission. Your sister is the a-hole for backtracking. Exceptions will cause drama with other parents. I totally agree as long as OP is fine with a lot of her family members declining the invitation. They don't have a right to be mad, but they do have a right to stay home. Why would a lot decline? My parents used to attend all kinds of events that were child-free. I could understand if the one sister did because it's her kid's birthday, but why would others? Not a a-hole. This is a date that is special to you. You told her what you were doing. She chose to promise her daughter something that, frankly, wasn't in her control. Aside from the fact that she blatantly disregarded what you already told her. There is nothing wrong with child-free weddings. Your family can suck it up and get over it. I was not invited to weddings as a child. This could be regional/country specific. But why does it seem people freak out now when their children are not included? Most people getting married do not have their own children, and you are putting more pressure on them when you want this many children included. Also, the last place I would want to be on my 8th birthday is a wedding. I get it. It puts the parents in a tricky spot that they're either not with their daughter on one of her birthdays or they miss one of their siblings' weddings. Since there are 30 little nibblings running around, they could probably hire a group of teens to watch all of them at the same time instead of each individual family hiring a babysitter. This is also assuming that their other side of the family cannot watch them for one evening. Not a a-hole. There's nothing wrong with wanting a child-free wedding. And if you have 30 nibblings, it's going to be a decent likelihood that there will be a birthday. If your sibling wants to stay with their kids instead, that's their choice. There's no reason they shouldn't be able to celebrate during the day, just not at your wedding. Think about this. There are 52 weeks a year, or roughly 52 weekends. There is mom, 11 kids, plus spouses/partners, and 30 grandkids. Excluding spouses/partners, that is 42 birthdays. Opie's family is averaging one birthday a week. Assuming everyone has a partner now, you're up to 53 birthdays. I think Opie is screwed on trying to find a weekend where someone can't lay claim that it is so-and-so's birthday or birthday weekend. Edit. Thank you all for your thoughts. When choosing a date, we went with my mother's opinion, and with my sister telling us we shouldn't have even asked her about it. Reading the comments, I do realize that not being a parent myself didn't think about a few things. I also did some math, and there is a birthday/anniversary of someone else in every 7.8 days in my family. So I was screwed from the start. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to sign a postnuptial agreement in exchange for a down payment? My 27 male, wife 27 female, and I got married over COVID and thus had a super small wedding. Only immediate family came, and it was a 12-person wedding for only about $2,000 total. Her parents paid for her dress, I paid everything else. My wife and I are now house hunting, and the market is ridiculous right now. My in-laws are pretty financially comfortable and offered to gift us a 20% down payment since they didn't have to pay for a wedding. But they want me to sign a postnuptial agreement, stating that if we were to divorce, all the equity from their gift would go to my wife versus split 50-50. I told them no thanks. I don't want any gifts with strings attached. Neither of us wanted a prenup, so I don't want a postnuptial agreement either. I make about 50% more than the wife and knew there was some risk, but that's not the kind of marriage I want. My wife agreed. We just lost another house bid, and my wife brought up how we could be more aggressive if we accepted her parents' help. I told her my stance hasn't changed. If they removed a caveat, I will, but I don't want them to have any involvement like that, and I want to keep our marriage attorney-free. She gets it, but is getting more antsy about not winning any housing bids, and thinks I should reconsider. Her brother, who I know pretty well, also is now trying to get me to agree to it, saying I should put aside my pride so we can get a better housing for our future family. Planning to have kids soon. But I just feel like they'll breed resentment and cause drama that I don't want in our marriage. Edit. It's not like we'd be homeless without their support. I make a good living and she does okay. It's just the housing market is pretty crazy right now, and we live in an expensive housing market. I don't want a loan from them, even if zero interest. We don't want more debt than we'd originally be planning to take on with our current budget. I'm not trying to negotiate a postnup to be more beneficial to me. The whole point is that we both agree to a marriage without getting lawyers involved, which is a binary matter here. Now for the top comments. Not today, Hull. Gifts with strings are never a good idea. You are right to avoid this. Agreeing to it being a loan with an interest rate to be paid off when the property sells would make more sense, but all the future equity is unfair and inequitable. Unless she makes all the payments and pays all the expenses. No a-holes here. I totally understand all the different sides of this issue, honestly. You don't like the idea of the strings, but also probably they're doubting the long-term validity of your relationship. Your in-laws don't like the idea of a possible divorce in just a couple months would entitle you to half of their hard-earned money. Your wife doesn't like being in the middle and wants to get a house ASAP. As a parent, I would probably also like a post-nuptial agreement for a gift of a significant amount of money. But there is a reasonable solution that all of you are overlooking. Get a post-nuptial agreement that expires in X years. This would solve both their concerns and also have a null impact on your relationship, assuming that you are in it for the long haul anyway. It's not about how many years it would apply. We went into our engagement with me making significantly more, and I likely always will. I knew going into the marriage that divorce is possible, but we both agreed to jump into the marriage with 2 feet. I'm not saying, oh well, I should receive the majority of equity for mortgage payments then, because I'm paying a bigger portion of it. We didn't want a lawyer-involved marriage in general, which is pretty binary to me. That's not a postnup. If your in-laws want to give you 20% down, you and your wife can drop a contract with her parents stating that if you divorce, you and your wife will give her parents their 20% back. Or you could treat it as a second mortgage loan from them. It's obviously not a gift if they want the money back. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole? My mother gave me an ultimatum last night regarding my wedding. Background: my older brother is an embarrassment. He's racist, awkward, weird, a drunk, and is also 16 years my senior. My partner and I got engaged on New Year's Eve. Our original plan was to do a city hall wedding, then bop off to our honeymoon. Unfortunately, we decided to have a small party with family and best friends. The problem: I asked my mother not to have my brother at the wedding. At no time has any member of my family supported me this past year. I have earned 2 additional accreditations in my field, teaching, taken multiple foreign language classes, published 2 books through my small press publishing company, and have assumed the role of financial guide for my mother after my dad passed away 2 years ago. My brother and sister have done nothing to show support for me. My brother never misses an opportunity to insult my weight. Had weight loss surgery in 2018 and have lost a ton, but he still attacks me about it. And never misses an opportunity to call me fat, which is obviously disgusting. My mother initially said okay to my request to not have my brother at my wedding. Then yesterday, she gave me an ultimatum and said if he isn't invited, then she won't come. My sister won't come, my aunt won't come, and my niece and nephew won't come. They're 8. I plan to talk to my therapist about this tonight, but I'm not a a-hole. I live with my mother and brother. Not a a-hole. When someone says I won't come to your wedding, or anything else for that matter, if you don't do X, Y, or Z, the response should be nothing other than, that's a pity, you'll miss a great day. Don't argue or try reason. They rarely mean it. They just want their way. Leave them be and don't engage. She'll go, and frankly if she doesn't, then screw her. Easy for me to say I appreciate. Thank you. If I were you, I would stop helping your family out. You did what you could to help them, but it seems like they're a negative force in your life. You need to surround yourself with people who will reciprocate your support and positivity, not soak it up like a sponge. Not a hole. And your reply to her should be simple. That's too bad. You will be missed. And then drop it. Do not discuss it further. That's too bad. You will be missed. Are they really going to be missed? Anyway, not a hole. Wedding day is a day of love and happiness. There's no place for people who doesn't provide any of those things. Not a hole. Okay, see you when we get back from the honeymoon. And move out. Not a hole. Your wedding. Call her bluff. And good luck with the wedding.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to take care of my parents? My household was negative, to say the least. My parents were strict and controlling, wanting me to become a doctor or lawyer, but all I ever wanted to do was art. I remember showing them my artwork, only to be met with sarcastic remarks. When I told them I was going to college for art and asked for their support, I don't even know why I bothered, since I knew they wouldn't help, unless I was studying something they approved of. As expected, they refused, saying it was my choice, my responsibility. So, I struggled as a broke college student, barely making ends meet while juggling 2 to 3 part-time jobs and keeping up my grades. Now, I own a small art program. A year into my degree, I met my now husband in a small coffee shop. Turns out, he was also a student looking to make friends. By friends, he actually meant a girlfriend, and he asked for my number. I agreed, since he was cute, and now we have 2 kids together. Now at 32, my husband, 34, and I have a happy family. His family became my second family. They helped me through college and never acted like monster in-laws. But now my mom, 66, and dad, 69, have reached out with demands. 1. Meet their grandkids. 2. Move in with us or have us cover their rent. 3. Pay for their hospital/medical bills. Their reasoning? They claim they did so much for me and deserve their happy ending too. I reminded them of their own words, your choice, your responsibility, and told them they needed to work like I did to get by. I wasn't going to help 2 stuck-up pieces of work. I feel like I did the right thing since they abandoned me when I needed help. However, some family members think I'm being unfair. They worked for me so I could eat, etc. Part of me doesn't want to expose myself or my kids to their toxicity, but before making up my mind, I wanted some unbiased outside opinions. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I think it's always crazy when parents say, we did so much for you, providing food, clothes, a place to live, etc. when you were growing up. You didn't ask to be brought into the world. Your parents chose to have kids, and thus chose to take on the responsibility to provide for you. The fact that they're making demands of you, especially expecting you to move them in or pay their rent, is kinda crazy. It would be different if they asked for support and tried to come up with a solution that worked for both of you. Also, the fact that they haven't even met your kids, I don't know how old they are, is a sign that your relationship with your parents has deteriorated. I don't know the full scope of your relationship, but from what you've said, I don't think you owe them everything they're demanding. If you want to help your parents while maintaining boundaries, like helping with some medical bills, that would be a kind thing to do, but not an obligatory one. If this has been a no-contact situation for years due to toxic behavior and they're only reaching out now because they want money, You are well within your rights to say no. Ultimately, you are the only one who can choose how to proceed with your relationship with them. You should also be the one to decide how much or how little you want to get involved again, for your own sake. But you wouldn't be the a-hole for saying no, and the family members calling you one should step up and pay for your parents themselves if they feel so strongly about it. My response to parents saying we owe them because they housed, fed, and clothed us is, congratulations, you did what you were legally obligated to do for the children you decided to have. Not the a-hole. You reap what you sow in life. Your parents did not support your dreams and have apparently not remained in your life, considering they have never even met your children. But now that they need something, they want their investment in you to pay off. Here's the reality. At least from my perspective, children are not a financial investment or a retirement plan. Your parents chose to have you, which means they had a legal and moral obligation to support you for 18 years. You don't owe them anything in return, especially when they didn't support your educational or professional dreams. The family members who think you're wrong can chip in and pay your parents' rent and medical bills. If they don't want to do that, they need to shut up and go away. Next story. Am I the a-hole for giving my dad and extended family attitude after they finally acknowledged my mom regretting she had me? My mom has said more times than I could count that she regretted having me, or that she regretted keeping me. I, 17 female, am my parents' only living child. They had a boy 3 years before me, but he was stillborn. My mom grieved for him basically every day, and she still lives very much like she lost her only child. I always felt my mom's coldness toward me. It wasn't that she would yell at me or tell me she hated me. It wasn't always in her words, except for when she openly admitted to regretting me. It was mostly in the way she'd refuse physical affection from me, like hugs, kisses, or even holding my hand. In the way she'd tell me to go to my dad if I was upset about anything, and how she'd make faces whenever I asked to do something with her. Sometimes, she'd do it with a strict rule that I wasn't to speak or stand too close to her. Other times, she'd tell me no, and it was like she had a full-body shudder at the thought. At her most blunt, she has told me she wishes she'd aborted me and told my dad she miscarried. At her least blunt, she talked about regrets, mistakes, and how annoying those regrets could be when they were in your face all the time. You know, like a little kid would be. She has said it where others should have heard, but my dad and extended family have forever acted like it didn't happen. When I told them about the things my mom said, they told me I misunderstood her. I was told I was a blessing after my brother was stillborn, and that she would never regret her blessing. In front of family, she has talked about how she was almost a real mom before, and how losing my brother made her regret losing her chance to be a mom. They always took it differently than I did, and even when I cried, I was told it was okay. I was just being a kid and not understanding adult context. They finally accepted the truth on Friday night. We were having dinner with my grandparents, 2 of my aunts and their husbands, my uncle and his wife, and several cousins. There was talk about how some of my cousins were having babies and how great it was. There was just a lot of baby talk. Then my mom got upset, and everyone noticed. My dad and one of my aunts asked my mom what was wrong and if she was thinking about my brother. She said she wished she had had another kid or 2 after him, and how she regretted missing out on being a mom. There was a pause and some looks shared, and then my dad told her they had me and that she was a mom. My grandmother told my mom she shouldn't talk like that where I could hear. I rolled my eyes at that and scoffed when she said it. Maybe that wasn't fair. But they were arguing about what my mom was saying, and she told them she regretted ever having me, and regretted not having kids she actually wanted. My mom left on her own before anyone else did, and my dad and extended family started saying how sorry they were that I had to hear that. I got mad and told them I'd heard that stuff before, but they just didn't believe me. I told them I didn't want their comfort when they had ignored me for so long and acted like I never spoke up before. They told me I should understand that it's difficult to imagine something like that actually happening, and that I should give them less attitude since they were at least trying. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. No child should have to hear those things, and I'm sorry you grew up dealing with that. Not the a-hole. It's horrible the egg donor has acted this way for 17 years. It's terrible your family has ignored or explained away this treatment for your entire life. Their acknowledgement is so little so late. You've done nothing wrong, but been treated so wrongfully by all of them. Honestly, I'm in favor of revenge. Identify the big goal, such as college or other post-secondary activity. Start twisting the knife in these people to ensure they fund it, since they let you grow up without a mother or maternal love. Not the a-hole. You should give them less attitude and understand. They owe you an apology where they grovel on their knees for your forgiveness. They need to accept that they were a-holes to a child that was never wanted and was told off when you tried to express how you felt about that. They are not at least trying. They have yet to start trying. Next story. Am I the a-hole for stepping away from my family after my sister brought her daughter's abuser back into their home? Let me provide some background information. I have two sisters-in-law, Rachel and Lauren. Rachel is engaged to Mark, and they have two daughters, Mia, 7, and Sophie, 5. Mark also has a son, Noah, 15, from a previous relationship. A couple of years ago, Mia was violated by Noah. After the abuse was discovered, Noah was sent to live with his biological mother. At the time, Rachel seemed to understand how serious the situation was. However, a few months ago, Noah's mother was arrested, and Rachel and Mark made the decision to bring him back into their home, meaning Mia now has to live under the same roof as the person who abused her. We understand that this was a difficult situation, and we don't pretend there were any easy answers. However, they seem to make this decision very quickly and without fully considering all the facts, something Rachel herself even admitted. From what we can tell, they didn't explore other possible solutions for Noah's placement before deciding that the only option was to bring him back into their home. Instead of weighing the long-term risks to Mia's well-being, they acted out of urgency, without fully acknowledging how damaging this could be for her. My husband and I were horrified. Research overwhelmingly shows that this kind of situation is incredibly damaging to a child's healing. And even my therapist has said that forcing a victim to live with their abuser can have lifelong consequences. Even if Noah never reoffends, the harm has already been done. Mia is being forced to live in a constant state of stress and fear, never truly feeling safe in her own home. Studies show that when survivors are placed back in an environment with their abuser, even under supervision, it can cause severe anxiety, PTSD, depression, and difficulty forming healthy relationships. It reinforces the idea that what happened to them wasn't serious enough to warrant real protection, which can lead to self-blame or a skewed understanding of boundaries. We were even more alarmed because Mia has already started showing signs that this is affecting her. She has been acting inappropriately with other kids, including her own cousin. Clear evidence that she is struggling to process her trauma. Despite this, Rachel insists that everything is being handled and that they are making sure Mia is safe. My husband and I told Rachel that we could not support this decision, and that for the well-being of Mia and our own children, we needed to distance ourselves. However, we are distancing ourselves from Rachel and Mark, not Mia and Sophie. We still love them and want to be in their lives. We have every intention of maintaining a relationship with them and have even planned to have them over for weekends at our house when possible. Our decision was never about cutting them off. It was about not pretending that this situation is okay. Since then, Rachel and my other sister-in-law, Lauren, have accused us of being cruel, making this about ourselves, and punishing Rachel for a difficult decision. They also claim that we are cutting off Mia and Sophie, even though we've made it clear that we still want a relationship with them. They recently had Sophie's birthday party and didn't invite us because they assumed we wouldn't come, yet they still blame us for not being involved. To us, this isn't about punishing Rachel. It's about not pretending that an unsafe situation is okay. Now the family is making us out to be heartless for stepping away, saying we are the ones causing division. But from our perspective, Rachel made a choice that forced us to choose between keeping the peace or standing up for Mia. And we chose Mia. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to support this decision and distancing ourselves from the family? Now for the comments. I'm pretty sure CPS would look the other way, but if there were ever the case, this would be it. is engage a lawyer and try to get custody of the girls due to the extreme danger they are in. Then I would bypass CPS and call the cops that Ipo is being housed with minors, his victim, and let them sort it out. The court system has said that this living arrangement is okay, according to OP's post. They are not going to remove a child from their parent when they have already ruled that this living situation is safe, even though we all know it really isn't. Essentially, OP has to wait until Noah abuses Mia again and gets caught, or Mia reports it to a trusted adult, and then starts a new investigation. It sucks, but that's how the system works. Why the heck has CPS not been notified? It should have been the first time as well, because as you've now seen with Mia, children who behave inappropriately with other children at a young age are often victims themselves. It's very, very possible that Noah was being abused as well. Not the a-hole for distancing yourself. Huge a-hole if you don't intervene to have the girls removed from the home until a solution is found. CPS was contacted and Noah went through the court system. We were hoping for an inpatient therapy program, which we have in our area, but he was only ordered to do outpatient therapy. Call now and report him as back in the home. Mini update. I have filed a CPS complaint. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not forcing daughter to visit her dad? I have a very complicated co-parenting relationship with my daughter's 13 dad. He lives in another state and rarely visits, only once a year. We do have a court order that states he can have visits, but we need to work them out first. We use a shared calendar. We don't have a lot of scheduled activities, so there are maybe 1 to 3 busy weekends throughout the entire year. In January, he messaged me saying he would be coming over in February. I hadn't put anything on the calendar yet, but I knew we would only be busy one weekend that month. Valentine's Day weekend, which also includes my birthday the next day. That just happened to be the weekend he picked. I told him that wasn't a good weekend, but every other weekend was completely open. He got mad and said no, he was coming that weekend, and there was nothing I could do about it. Honestly, I wasn't going to argue with him. So I informed my daughter that her dad was coming that weekend. She freaked out when she heard the date. She told me her friends had said that her crush was planning on asking her on a Valentine's date, which would be her first ever date. She immediately called her dad and begged him to reschedule. He actually yelled at her, then yelled at me for turning her against him. She ended up hanging up on him and has been ignoring his calls since. She was later asked on a movie date for Valentine's Day, supervised by the boy's mom. When Valentine's Day came, her dad was in town, but she refused to see him and went on her date instead. She has refused to meet up with him at all. I've tried multiple times to get her to see him, even just for a short visit, but she is not budging. He is obviously very mad and is now threatening to call the police and the courts to see if I can be thrown in jail. I've tried talking to her, but I can't physically force her into the car and make her stay with him. So, am I the a-hole? Absolutely not. I had a similar experience with my 13-year-old son. Your agreement states that visits need to be worked out in advance, and it doesn't sound like it was mutually agreed upon, so that's on him. Also, at this age, there's a limit to what you can force your children to do. Their opinions as teenagers will matter to police officers and the courts. In fact, forcing her could work against you. What you need most is a solid relationship with your daughter. Also, OP mentioned that her birthday was the day after Valentine's Day, making it reasonable that they'd have plans. He intentionally picked the one weekend he knew they'd be busy and then demanded it be his time. Not the a-hole. He set this up to make it seem like he was trying to visit, while actually giving himself an excuse to throw a tantrum about not getting his way. He's a major a-hole, and honestly, divorcing him was probably one of the smartest things you could have done. Visits need to be scheduled and agreed upon. He chose to schedule this over your birthday. It'd be obvious even to the dullest person what he was doing. Add to that the fact that it's a holiday and that your daughter already had her own plans. No, he doesn't get to swoop in, dictate when and where he gets to see her, and expect everyone to drop everything. He visits once a year, but do they talk or text in between times? It seems like there's something missing in this story. They can call or text whenever they want. They used to have a few calls a week, but in the past year, it has been dropping. Sometimes he will call and she would answer, say she doesn't want to talk and hang up. She won't talk to me about why. Probably because he only visits once a year. I realized around that age that my dad only spent time with me when it was convenient for him, which didn't include things important to me, like recitals or sports games. Your daughter is probably outgrowing the "my dad is my hero" phase and realizing that you are the one raising her. If her dad really cared, he'd show up for her without demanding she cancel her own plans. Not the a-hole.